Aha Moments is brought to you by Das Fort Media.
Hi, I'm Alena Chapman, an author of You Can't Escape from a Prison If You Don't Know You're in One. And this is Aha Moments, the moments that you realize awareness and, if you choose to listen, leads you on a journey of growth. Join me to explore people and their aha moments along with the awesome journeys of growth that happen for them. Okay. Hi, I'm Alena, and you are listening to Aha Moments with Alena. Here we celebrate the aha moments and explore what happens if we decide to act on them. And what I want to do just every time we have this broadcast is I want to give a little bit of history, and this one's very apropos of people who have followed their aha moments. Earl Nightingale said he came to his aha moment or his awareness reading "We Become What We Think About." And this is from Think and Grow Rich. And then he went on and did a recording called The Strangest Secret, which reached a gold record. And just how you follow your dreams. And this is very apropos because my guest this time is Bob Proctor. Now, Bob Proctor to me is, I think he is the most fabulous person I have ever met. But he's widely regarded as one of the living masters and teachers of the law of attraction and has worked in the area of the mind potential for over 40 years. He is a best-selling author of a book called You Were Born Rich. It's an awesome book and has transformed the lives of millions, I mean really millions, through his books, his seminars, his courses, and his personal coaching. And his seminars are fantastic. He truly is a leader in his field. And Bob, with that, hello.
Yeah, Alena, you read that just like my mother wrote it.
Well, wonderful.
That was good.
Well, Bob, now, I would love to know your definition of an aha moment.
Well, aha moments, I believe, happen when we're being guided. And if we have our ear to the ground, we follow them. You see, I happen to believe that you and I are spiritually perfect. Our spiritual DNA is perfect. It requires no modification or improvement. There is perfection within us. And that perfection is always seeking expression with and through us. That's why we get jabbed in the consciousness, do this, go here, say this, do that.
Yes.
And if we would disassociate with the physical world for brief moments and live from inside out rather than outside in, we would follow those aha moments.
Exactly.
You see, something happens and we go, aha. And it's really brilliant. You see brilliance. And unfortunately, the average individual doesn't have the proper image of who they are and what they are. And they think, oh, that wouldn't work. I couldn't do that. Or,
exactly.
that might be all right for her, but not for me. And we shoot these aha, brilliant expressions. We shoot them down before we even put the breath of life in them.
Bob, that is so true. Because I've been going around asking. When people hear I'm doing this show, I always say, well, do you have aha moments? And they say, oh, yeah. And I ask them to tell the story. And I said, now, did you act on that? Did you do anything with it? Oh, no. And it is interesting how they shoot it down before they even get it out of the gate. And,
well, you see, I believe if a person would just take even a little bit of time every day, but do it every day, just like they get dressed every day. They very likely shower or bath every day, and they eat every day. I think every day we ought to work on our own self-image.
Yes.
Just spend a few minutes. I don't care if it's only 15 minutes, but if we do it every day, getting a better idea of who we are, what makes us tick, why do we do what we do, then I believe we would act on more of these aha moments.
Yes.
Somebody asked me yesterday, what my definition of inspiration was. And I looked at him, I thought, well, don't you know? Inspiration is in spirit. Just think of the word in spirit. It's
Yes.
when we get into the spirit of the thing. And if we get into the spirit of a particular project, or get into the spirit of a book, or get into the spirit of a conversation, get into the spirit of what we're doing right now, brilliance is going to flow through us because it's here. All the knowledge there ever was or ever will be is omnipresent. And this idea of inventing stuff, we don't invent stuff, we discover it. We permit it to express itself through us. And so if we would just get in touch with ourselves, then we'd act on our aha moments. The biggest aha moment that I've ever had was when I was 26 years old. I had a very poor opinion of myself. And looking back in retrospect, I think I had always had a poor opinion of myself. In other words, no one really taught me to understand who I was. For 26 years, I just had the idea that I couldn't do whatever come to my mind. I couldn't do it, not me. And so I was a poor student in school. I didn't do well. There wasn't a teacher, not one teacher was able to reach me or wake me up, which is rather sad.
It is
And
sad.
so I left school after a couple of months in grade 9. That's all I had in school. And so I took any job I could get and I did whatever I could do. I was always a reasonably good worker, just trying to grind out a living. And when I was 26, I met a man who I hadn't known him a long time, but I was really impressed with him. His name was Raymond Douglas Stanford.
Yes.
And he was always seemed like a happy guy. He was a big, strong, healthy looking guy. He always had money on him, always. So, I mean, to me, he was Mr. Success. I didn't know him that well, but that was my perception of him. And he said, you've got to be one of the most miserable people I've ever met. And I think at the time I was. And he said, you're almost always sniffling or you got a headache or something. And he said, you're always broke. He said, why don't you change? Well, the idea of changing had never entered my mind. The idea that I could literally change the way I was living never entered my mind. I really thought that, you just deal with what comes at you and that's how you go through life. I guess that's all I had witnessed in the 26 years. And so why think anything ever any different? He said, he said, if you would do exactly what I tell you, you could have anything you want. Well, I didn't believe that. I mean, why would I believe that?
Right.
But my first aha moment was, I thought, he believes that. I believed he believed it. And for whatever reason, something inside said, do what he says. And I made up my mind I would. Standing there in all the surroundings of failure in everything. And it wasn't exactly, I guess it was failure because I had never really tried to accomplish anything. And he gave me the book, Think and Grow Rich. I said, I want you to start reading this and do what you think the author's saying. And if you've got questions, ask me. But do exactly what he's saying. But you see, it was something inside said, do what he tells you. Tell him you'll do what he tells you. And that was my first aha moment. Now, I've had many since then. And I started to follow that quiet voice from within that tells me which way to go. Something all the great leaders have told us. That's what aha moments are. It's the quiet voice from within. It's the spiritual perfection within saying, go this way. Because you see, when we build an image of what we want in our mind, mentally, intellectually, and spiritually, we've already got it.
Yes.
It's a matter of permitting it to manifest with and through us. But we've already got it. We've got to see ourselves with it. And by doing that, we stir something inside and we flip ourselves onto a higher frequency because we do operate on frequencies. We're a
Yes.
mass of energy. We are spiritual beings, and spirit operates by law, and one of the laws is vibration. And vibration operates, it's just an infinite number of frequencies, levels of vibration. And when we fall in love with this image that we've got, we flip ourselves onto a specific vibration. And on that vibration, then we begin an attractive force. We've set up an attractive force. And whatever's on that frequency flows into our mind.
Mm-hmm.
They're considered aha moments because they're things that have never happened before. It's messages we've never gotten before. We see things we've never seen before. We hear things we've never heard before. There are aha moments. So we've got to understand what an aha moment is.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what you're doing with this service is incredible, because I believe there's a lot of people will start tuning into iTunes and start downloading these and start listening. And you're getting the opinion of leaders all over the world. And you know, they're all going to give you essentially the same message. They may explain it a different way than me, but they're giving you the same message.
But that's
You're
the
into
idea.
the spirit. You're into the spirit of whatever you're going after.
Mm-hmm. Now, I do have a question, because often people do get into these stuck. They get stuck. They get into what I call a prison. And I remember when I made my declaration and I said, enough is enough. I love life and I want to live it. And I meant it so much. That was when my vibration switched. And it opened my eyes to all the possibilities that are out there. Now, and I wanted to ask you to meet Raymond Stanford, when you met him, something had to draw you to him or have him draw to you. Was there anything that were you sick of being where you were? Was there any kind of, what was your state of mind? Where was your vibration when you met him?
Oh, I was sick of being where I was. I mean, I was really sick of it. But to see, the idea that I could change it never entered my mind. But I believe it was the spiritual essence within me seeking expression that attracted him to me.
Right, because you were sick.
I thought they attracted people in the past, but I didn't listen to them.
Ah, because your eyes weren't open. Yeah.
My eyes weren't open. He opened my eyes. You see, I think something happened to me when he spoke to me. And I think something happened to you when you flipped onto a different frequency.
Exactly.
See, we both did essentially the same thing. We said, I am sick of living the way I live. Something provoked us to take an honest look at where we were.
Exactly.
And we obviously said, I don't like it. And something caused us to realize we could change it. That gave us hope. And you see, when you have hope, you have options. Prior to that, I think that's what Ray gave me. He gave me hope. Prior to that, I didn't have any hope. I didn't have any options. This is it. This is my life. This is the way it has to be. Didn't like it, but I was stuck. You picked a good word when you said stuck.
Yes, a lot of people are stuck.
I believe that the vast majority of the population of the world are stuck.
So do I. Yes, I know.
But I think that's changing. And I think it's changing very rapidly.
I do too. And I think if we can that's why I have this show. I want to help people to open their eyes, and to start to want better, to know that there's better out there. And I think that's enough to raise their vibration so that they can see all these aha moments and then start acting on them. Now,
you know, Alena, I think everybody wants better. I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's a person down in the real slums of a city. Wants come into their consciousness. The problem is they're rejected. They're constantly rejected.
Yes.
I wanted what Ray offered, and something inside said, follow him. We've got it. See, I really believe that somebody's going to download one of these interviews of yours, and it's going to trigger something in their mind.
Yes.
And you will never know it. They won't tell you. You will never know it. And they could be in Buenos Aires. They could be in Shanghai. They could be in Indianapolis.
Yeah.
But something that is said is going to trigger them. And I think that's going to happen to millions of people. And so you see, what you're doing, what I'm doing, is important work. This is
Very,
important work.
very important.
So, you know,
And to trust
well, you see,
that inner voice, to trust
yeah,
that.
well, you see, when you trust the inner voice, first of all, you got to realize what that inner voice is.
That's right.
It isn't a hallucination.
No.
It isn't your imagination going to work. Um, the inner voice will trigger your imagination. Your imagination is a magnificent tool. It enables you to bring the future into the presence,
That's right.
into the present tense. So, aha moments are they're essential if you're going to improve the quality of your life.
That's
The
right.
aha moment is what leads you to a higher frequency. It takes you from an AM to an FM frequency and then beyond.
Exactly.
I'm working on a program right now, fourth dimensional thinking. Somebody said, "Well, what is that?" I said, "Well, when you watch a TV set, you're watching two dimensions. Most people think there's more, but that's it. And of course, you can buy 3D TVs today. And if you get a 3D TV, then you have to wear glasses to watch it. And wow, it's like magic."
Mm-hmm.
Well, fourth dimensional thinking is when you take the glasses off and close your eyes. And that's when you go inside. And that's where the real show begins. And I believe that's what the aha moments are doing.
Yeah, I agree totally. And looking within and trusting it, just trusting it above all else and moving on it. That's exactly. Now, tell us a little bit, because there are people, I think there are very few, but there might be people out there that don't totally know what you have accomplished in your life. Where have these aha moments, this first one, what did it promote you to start opening your eyes to and going after?
Well, you see, I was earning a little bit of money. I was earning $4,000 a year. And this goes way back to 1961. But I owed $6,000. And of course, I get into the book and following Ray's direction. He said, "You got to decide what you want." Well, all I wanted was some money. I figured if I had enough money, all the problems would go away. Now, that wasn't accurate, but that's what I was thinking at the time.
Right.
And so I set a goal of having $25,000. I didn't believe that. I didn't believe I'd ever have $25,000. I gave myself a decade to do it. I gave myself till 1970, and this was in 1961. So I really didn't believe it would happen. But he said, "Write it on a card and carry it in your pocket and read it as often as possible every day." Well, you know, that card led me to aha moments, you see. It was triggering something inside that I didn't understand. And I kept reading it and kept reading it. And I was prepared to do anything honest to earn money. One day I heard somebody say there's good money cleaning floors. I just see, since I was reading the card, I started to think of earning money. You say, "Well, weren't you thinking of that before?" No, I was thinking of debt. If your goal is to get out of debt, you'll never get out of debt.
Exactly.
So I was thinking of earning money. Somebody said there's good money cleaning floors. I'm not proud. I'll clean floors. So I started to clean offices. I got first office I got to clean. I washed the floor twice a month. I got $30 or $15 a time. Do you know, by the end of the year, I was earning $175,000 a year. Then I took it over $1 million.
Wow.
I was cleaning offices in less than 5 years. I was cleaning offices in Toronto, Montreal, Boston, Cleveland, Atlanta, and London, England. I mean, I had a big company going, and I had no idea what I was doing. I really didn't.
Well,
Somebody asked me what I was doing, I'd say I'm cleaning offices. But the truth was I wasn't. That was just incidental to what I was doing. If I'd have been driving trucks, I would have been equally as successful. You see, I was following aha moments, and I was teaching the cleaners to do the same. I was encouraging them to set goals. I said, "Just do what I tell you. You can buy your house, you can get a new car, you can do anything you want. There's something wonderful about us." And I was so jazzed with this. I was so excited. I didn't understand what I was doing.
yeah.
And one day I thought, how did this all happen? And I didn't know. I mean, there was other people cleaning floors and they weren't doing what I was doing. There was other people who read Think and Grow Rich. They weren't doing what I was doing. So I made up my mind I was going to figure it out. Now, I had been raised to believe if you're going to be, earn a lot of money, you're going to be really smart. I knew I wasn't very smart, but I was earning a lot of money. So I thought that's not true. I was raised to believe if you don't go to school, you can't get a good job. I not only had a good job, I owned the company. So
Yeah.
I thought, this information. So I wonder how many other things I've got that's false. I used to reject all those aha moments, those quiet voices within that are saying, go here, Bob, go there.
That's right.
You see, it was an aha moment that says, go open an office in Montreal, go open another office in Atlanta, go to Seattle. And I was doing it. I would just go. I had never been there before, but in nothing flat, I had a business going. I was following this quiet voice from within, and it was fun.
It is
But I
fun.
thought, how did it happen? And so I made up my mind I would study and I would figure it out. And I started to study. And I have studied with some of the most brilliant people in the world. It took me 9.5 years, but I figured it out. You see, we've got a paradigm. We're conditioned. There's a program written that's in our subconscious mind. It's genetic and it's environmental. You know, I'm looking at a picture of Tony Franz, and I could tell Tony all kinds of things about himself, and I've never seen him because I can see his energy. You see, he's a very left-brained guy. He really is.
Yes, he is.
Now, I would never want to try and get him to do something he doesn't want to do. He's a very determined guy. He'll go right through a concrete wall to make something happen. He likes a lot of order in his life, but he doesn't necessarily like create it all himself. So he tells people what to do. They bitch, but they do it. Now, you see, I started to study, and so I got to the point where I found out we're all the same. We're essentially the same. The only difference is in the way we think, in the vibration that we're in. And we're programmed genetically, and that dictates why we look like we look like and why we have the idiosyncrasies our parents had. And this programming is controlling our life. You see, our subconscious program cuts us off from using our aha moments.
Yes.
Way deep in the center of our consciousness is the spiritual perfection. And it's jamming us in the conscious mind, but when we get it, we reject it. And it's too bad because we shouldn't reject it. We've got to get the paradigm out of the way. We've got to understand what this paradigm is, what this programming is, because it's not only genetic, goes back for generations, it's environmental. It's controlled, or it's formed by the people we're surrounded by.
Exactly.
If you're born into a home that's bilingual, you will grow up being bilingual. If you're born into a home where there's 3 or 4 languages spoken, you'll fluently speak 3 or 4 languages. We have a salesperson in our house, in our company, who's from Iran originally. So he speaks Sufi. His wife is from Mexico. She speaks Spanish. They all speak English. So their little boy speaks Sufi, English, and Spanish. And they think nothing of it. If they speak one language, they get answers them in that language. See, he's being programmed with 3 languages. If they spoke 23, he'd speak 23. Yeah. We're programmed by our environment. Well, the problem is most people are programmed by the people around them to reject these silly little inspirations that tell us to do this and go here, and we can. And we listen to the limitations.
That's right.
You know,
well, we're cut off from imagination at such an early age, you know.
And that is the most magnificent tool we've got.
It is. It is.
So
yeah,
it took me 9.5 years. When I figured it out, all I wanted to do was teach it to other people. Fantastic. Because I think what you're doing what I'm doing. Well, you are. We're doing the same thing. We're just approaching it from a different
angle. Exactly.
And I have found I've traveled all over the world now. You mentioned I've been in it 40 years. I've been in over 50 years. You were very kind to me. You cut 10 years off.
Oh, I try, yes.
But I have traveled all over the world, and it doesn't matter whether I'm in China or Chicago. People are essentially the same. They want something they haven't got, and they immediately start thinking of why they can't get it. I believe your responsibility, my responsibility, now that we understand this, is to wake people up and tell them they can have anything they want. All they have to do is follow the quiet voice from within, see it in their mind, and then follow the lead that gives us the direction from inside.
I could not say that any better, Bob. I mean, it's just perfect. And yes, if we can just get people to trust and to listen to them inside, I just thank you for making this so extremely clear. And you're just an awesome
I love it. I absolutely love it. And I love you, and I love what you're doing. I think what you're doing, you know, your book, You Can't Escape from a Prison If You Don't Know You're in One.
Oh, yes. Yes.
That is such a magnificent piece of literature, No, you've got to
Thank
stop
you.
and think of the people that you're going to help with that. Because there's a lot of people in a prison of their own making. They blame their spouse, they blame the government, they blame their environment, they blame their
The
past.
world.
You got to get out of the blame game.
You do.
You
You
know,
do.
victims can never win. And
No.
understand you are in charge of you.
You're the master of your
And
ship. Yes.
you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
inviting
Thank
me
you,
on your show.
Bob. Oh, and everyone, if you want to learn more about Bob Proctor, please go to bobproctor.com and look into his seminars and everything else. It's just magical. And I want to thank you so much for being here. If you want to learn more about the show or about my what else I offer, go to alenachapman.com to the website. You can load more of these podcasts and look into some of the services we have to help you also. I thank you so very, very much. And the most important message from Bob, I think, is to listen to yourself. Trust.
It's been a profit and a pleasure, Alena. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you. And thank you, everyone. Have an awesome, awesome day. You can learn more about me by visiting alenachapman.com or follow me on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram.